Thank you, Sawadika, and good afternoon. I'd like to talk about the conditional cash transfer in the Philippines that was begun in 2008 under the Arroyo administration, and the Aquino administration expanded it. It is to keep children in school and keep them healthy. To begin with, we started off with 800,000 families. Today, there are 4.4 million families enrolled, 10 million children supported in health and education. The first step is to ensure that we know who the poor are, where they are, what kind of communities do they live in. And that's what the National Household Targeting System for Poverty Reduction had done. In 2009, it covered 10 million families by survey, and in 2015, we did a second round. It covered 15 million families. It used proxy indicators of poverty, looking at the household and looking at the community, therefore identifying who the poor are. And the conditional cash transfer in 2009 identified 4.4 million families who are below the poverty line and needing assistance and have children 0 to 18 years old. So it covers children for 0 to 18 years old and provides cash grant for education and for health. Second point, it works because we collaborated, or what we call in Philippine government at that time, a convergence strategy. To ensure that the children are going to school, we work with the Department of Education, who naturally checks attendance and absences. So if the child is going to school 85% of the time, then he can get the cash grant. Also, we work with the Department of Health, which monitored compliance to a visit to the health center once a month to bring the children for immunization, for checkup, for weight monitoring, and for pregnant mothers for prenatal and postnatal work. However, in 2013, we saw that there were two groups that we were not able to reach because the proxy means test that we use for NHT-SPR needed a structure. Whatever structure, that's where you go for the survey. But the indigenous peoples, nomadic tribes, were not included, and the street families in the urban poor communities. And so we did another survey, this time particularly looking out for them so we could include them in the conditional cash transfer. The third point I want to make is that, again, in terms of collaboration on health, we wanted to make sure that we can fast-track the provision of health services to the families enrolled in CCT. So we worked with PhilHealth and showed and shared our database from the National Household Targeting System with their database, thus enrolling 15 million individuals who are in PhilHealth now, coming from the database of the National Household Targeting System. So what made it work, I think, was very important for us to know that it is a collaborative effort, that it is an effort not only of governments, but more especially the people whom we are working with, because there are conditions for children to go to school 85% of the time, for the mothers to bring them to the health center once a month, the card which allows them to get the money from an ATM machine or an over-the-counter process is held by the women, the mothers or the grandmothers. 95% of the ATM cards and or the cards that allow them to get access is held by the women. And the third condition is that they will be participating in a family development session once a month. The family development session is a session which brings together the beneficiaries to talk about self, to talk about family, to talk about active citizenship. And they're organized 30 members to a group with one parent leader that they select. So the parent leader is the one who helps the government ensure that all the needs of the community, the beneficiaries, are responded to so that we are able to effectively deliver the services. The last point I want to make are the 3 lessons I'd like to share. As my background for some of you, most of my working life as a social worker and community organizer is an NGO. It's been 10 years only that I am in government. But I've learned to be able to do the things that I just said, it has to be business unusual. We cannot do the same things that we have been doing, so it is unusual. We have to break down the silos. Second, it is doing reform as you perform. And that's really a big challenge, that you are trying to change as you are trying to deliver. And finally, the angel is in the detail. That everything that I discussed did happen because we talked about the details, the operational details, with colleagues, and most importantly, with the community leaders, with the beneficiaries themselves, who told us what they needed and how best it can be done.